morning, grade 4s. Today we are going to talk about scale maps. Now, a scale map is used to show a large amount of area on a very small map. And the way we do that is by creating a scale. For example, my scale for this map is right here. It says that 1 centimeter on my map equals 1 mile in real life. So when I measure my distances, if something is 5 centimeters on my map, that means in real life it would be 5 miles away. Now this is a nice scale because it's 1 is equal to 1, but sometimes our scales can look like this. 1 centimeter equals 5 miles. And what that means is if we had a distance that was 2 centimeters, in real life that would be 2 times 5 miles, which would be 10 miles. Now luckily we don't have to deal with that this time around. We have a nice simple scale. We just have 1 centimeter equals 1 mile. So what we need to do before we can answer any questions is we need to figure out what all of my distances are on my map. So to do that, I need a trusty dusty ruler. Just a reminder, the side with the small measurements is always in centimeters. The side with the large measurements is always in inches. So those are how you tell those two apart. We have inches and we have centimeters. Now my map here uses centimeters, but your map might use inches, so just make sure to check the sides that you use. Good. Okay, let's get started then. So using my centimeter side, I'm going to line up the 0 with one of my points, and then I'm going to see how many centimeters it takes to get to my other one. So that looks like exactly 7 centimeters. So 7 centimeters equals how many miles? 7 times 1 gives me 7 miles. Nice and straightforward there. So that side is equal to 7 miles in real life. Let's try the next one. So here we go. I'm going to line up my ruler so that the 0 is at one of my points. And then I'm going to see how it lines up over there. So it looks like this one is at 7 and then halfway through that mark. So that's the same as 7.5 centimeters, or 7.5 miles. There we go, that's the amount in miles. And measuring the last one, we have this lined up at the 0. Oh, and once again, it's at that halfway part. So it's 3.5 centimeters, or 3.5 miles. And this one I'm just going to write the miles right away. So there we go. Now I have all my distances. Now I can figure out how far it would actually be to go from these 3 places. So let's try that out. First of all, from home to school. So we want to know how to get from this point to this point. That's just one straight line, or 7 miles. We figured that one out already. Now, if we want to get to the church from school, we have to use the lines that we have. So we're going to have to do this line and this line. So that means we have to add those two together. So that's exactly what I do. 7.5 plus 7, that's just the half, and 14. So it's 14.5 miles to get to school. There we go. And finally, we want to know how to get from the home to the store. So once again, I need to follow my path. So that's this one and this one. So that's the same as 7.5 plus 3.5. So half plus a half equals 2 halves. 7 plus 3 equals 10. 10 and 2 halves. How else can I write 2 halves? That's the same thing as another whole. So then in total, that is 11. So it's 11 miles from home to store. So that's sort of how we use a scale map. You might need to do some adding. Make sure to add up all the points that you need, and all the best on today's work.